You're listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, featuring senior retail executives and experts in the global convenience and mobility industry. Welcome to the Future of Convenience. I'm Carolyn Schnare, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Dan Munford. Great to see you, Dan.
And great to be back, Carolyn.
Well, for sure. I haven't seen you in quite a while. You've done a lot of great shows, and I'm happy to be sitting right here in front of you again and doing one with you.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of travel lately in the US this time. Went to NRF, very interesting from a tech perspective, obviously, particularly. And then we went to Pennsylvania, managed to avoid the snow, and made a film with Chris Hartman and team about the winner of our best convenience store in the world competition. So it was a busy week last week.
Yeah, you were on the road. That's cool. I think today we're going to talk a little bit about tech, but we're going to talk about it from an entirely different market than we've talked to in the past. We're going to travel over to India, and we're going to talk with the founders of New Shop, a fast-growing convenience store chain who's making an evolving change in that industry.
Brand new AI just changed the game for retail. Plexer catches theft in real time, spots safety hazards before someone gets hurt, and predicts demand spikes, all from your existing cameras. No new hardware. This is the kind of AI that didn't exist before. Retailers using it are recovering and making thousands more every month. Go to plexer.ai, request a demo now.
So, Dan, we've spoken with guests from all corners of the world, but I believe this is the first time we've spoke with an up-and-coming retailer in India, at least on the podcast. And so we've covered New Shop India, who we're going to talk to today, in global convenience. It was an article a few months ago. I'll make sure we put that in the show notes because there's some really cool pictures of the folks we're going to talk with today. So I'm going to jump right in and introduce our two guests. We're joined by Aastha Almast, the co-founder of New Shop India. So thank you so much for joining us, Asha.
Thank you so much to have us over. We're very excited to be presenting our India story to your global platform today.
That'll be so cool. We're excited to talk with you about it. And we also have Mani Dev Gyawali, co-founder and CTO of New Shop. Welcome.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Dan, for having us. Excited to talk about what's brewing in India.
Well, absolutely. This is really particularly exciting, I think, for us because as Carolyn said, we ran a good store when you guys last year in 2025. It was actually one of our biggest stories of the year in terms of the number of readers, viewers of the story. So, you know, there's a lot of interest in globally in what you're doing, and also, actually, a little known secret, but the Indian market is a really big market for global convenience as well. You know, we have a lot of viewers and readers from that market. It's certainly one of the big ones for us. So I guess the two things go together quite well, and really interesting in what you're doing, and a great opportunity to find out about that and dig in a bit more today about what you're doing, but also what's happening. You know, the shape that the Indian market is taking, and your thoughts on that. So perhaps to kick it off, Aastha, maybe I could start with you and just ask you to talk about New Shop India, how you positioned yourself as a modern alternative to traditional labeled shops. You know, what are the gaps in the market that you've addressed, would you say?
Yep. So, Dan, first of all, we're three founders who founded New Shop in 2019 with just one aim. We have lived in US and various other countries, and it was kind of like shocking to us that the most favorite retail format for the youngsters, for the constantly on the go population, wasn't really established in India the way we were used to. And rather than waiting for an international chain to yet again enter India and organize a convenience retail format, we just wanted to be the ones who do it as consumers and both as a great business opportunity. So
Because it's an interesting point, and I was just rereading the article this morning. Circle Pay and 7-Eleven haven't come into the India market yet, have they?
7-Eleven has come into India now, but they're still in their early stages. Interestingly, you should know that India's retail market is very heavily regulated, and there are foreign direct investment restrictions around multi-brand retail outlets, and a lot of developments are happening on the front where, while the government is very enthusiastic about promoting modernized, upgraded retail formats, India is expected to be a $2 trillion retail economy by 2030. Currently, it's at like almost a 900 billion. So you can imagine how much is going to go by leaps and bounds. Interestingly, because of such restrictions in the past, a lot of large retailers could not enter India because they cannot enter India directly. They have to enter via investments or through partnerships or joint ventures. So 7-Eleven has entered India through a partnership with another retail conglomerate, but it's a new entrant. I guess they're about at 50 stores, and we are almost 7-8 times their size already. So interesting. I mean, we think India is a huge opportunity. Modern trade itself is going to be the biggest market shift revolution that our generation is going to be seeing from merely a 10% 9-10 billion dollar market today. It is expected to grow at a $230 billion, and we're great that we're contributing to the growth development of our country by shaping how modern trade is going to grow in our country. So back to your question, what gaps we saw. Just a little bit about New Shop and where we are today. So New Shop is India's largest and fastest growing convenience retail franchise. We founded in 2019 and today have over 300 stores in 55 cities. We're serving about 10 million customers, 60,000 orders per day, and our vision is to empower 10,000 entrepreneurs by 2030. We're located in neighborhoods, gas stations, highways, railway stations, airports, corporate parks, educational hubs, and serving quick on the go food and services that are required by the customers of that location. So, very, very hyper local. With fresh food and beverages, mini QSR within New Shop stores, snacks, beverages, tobacco, frozen, dairy, and a lot of services such as ATM services, courier pickup, drop, electric vehicle charging stations, etc. So, as I said, the India's modern retail revolution will be the largest market shift that our generation will be seeing, and we expect the convenience retail contribution to that modern trade to be at least a $40 billion industry by 2030, which means an approximate 150,000 stores in the next 5 years. So, what we really saw as an opportunity when with three young founders onto a third startup is that India has is a very interesting, culturally diverse, and the most complex market in the world, right? And traditional unorganized retail, which still accounts to 90% of Indian retail, dominated the retail landscape in India for decades, like with resilience. Also, FDI had a role to play with that. But back in 2019, when we were starting New Shop, we found a very big shift coming into India, and a lot of things changing with us being the youngest population in the world. So India was getting upwardly mobile, rapid urbanization, a lot of infrastructural development, increasing incomes, and very very and huge contribution by Instagram and TikTok, that our country became aspirational. Our socio cultural needs got influenced by global trends, and we got a lot of global exposure, even if for people who weren't well traveled.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, it's a huge opportunity, isn't it? Isn't it, Asta? I mean, just one thing, Kylan, I think one thing that strikes me is that obviously convenience stores love young people. Young people love convenience stores. It's a mutually symbiotic relationship, isn't it? And if that's the right word. And 75% of India is young people, isn't it? So if you look at the population, so it's timely, isn't it?
Absolutely, and which is also why we are growing. We are the epitome of the young population of the country, and understand. This wasn't just our problem. We were young entrepreneurs working round the clock, getting high quality food at affordable prices post midnight was not just our problem, but we saw that as a problem of our friends, family, our workers, our employees, and pretty much a problem of the entire social, across all social strata, of the problem of the millennials and Gen Z broadly. So what the gaps we started seeing was both from the consumer perspective and, interestingly, from the perspective of the business owner of the traditional retail. So consumers like us wanted better products, no longer those I would say not so good or whatever inferior products that were available at the localized mom and pop stores. We all wanted better aspirational products that were available out there. in a standardized, hygienic format with round the clock access, convenience, and above all, we all wanted modern experiences. We have Instagram, we see what's happening in the world. So we also wanted a great modern retail experience where we walk into a store and we transcend it to another part of the world and we feel as privileged as the other developed parts of the world. And on the other hand, what we also saw that the traditional retailers was not only losing these next generation of customers, but because of rising rental costs, manpower expenses, and the MRP, minimum retail price law in India, the traditional retailers were not able to earn the same amount of profits that they were earning earlier. Their incomes were steadily declining over a period of time, and what that led to is that the next generation started facing legacy issues. So no mom and pop store owner's daughter or son wanted to continue their family business of running their mom and pop store. It didn't have they didn't have the kind of social currency and recognition as a business owner, and plus it wasn't earning the kind of money that would sustain their upwardly aspirational demands and needs. So we saw consumers are unhappy, the business owners are unhappy, and the traditional retail is on a decline. So with new shop, what we realized is convenience retail, like you mentioned, is something that the new age young population really needs, because we're constantly on the move. And historically, in different countries where convenience retail has developed, has been influenced by the upwardly mobile young population.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, you've set it out really well, Asta. And I think just listening to what you're saying and just thinking about the business opportunity you've got, and thinking about India as well, and what's special about India is obviously the many things special about India. It's a country I visited many times some years ago, and I absolutely love India. It's known for its youth because you've got this great big youth population that creates a dynamism, doesn't it? It creates this huge dynamism in your economy. um, one other thing that India is also known for is technology, isn't it? Increasingly, you're one of the most dynamic places in the world for technology now as well. So that's a terrific advantage. And I was just intrigued, obviously, really pleased to see Mani Gyawali on the call as well, CTO of New Shop, Mani. And maybe I could bring you in just to ask about your tech stack, because I think there's been a lot of interest in what you've said about that, and maybe you could lay out what you've done there, and also how it works as well, and how it's making sense for your business.
Yes, Dan, as you rightly pointed, we're one of the few retailers that builds their own tech stack. So we don't use any third-party software for any kind of retail operations within our ecosystem. So the idea was to build a fully integrated cloud-based platform and do what tech does best, which is making operations repeatable, measurable, and less reliant on human judgment. And that's the thesis we started out with. Come today, we use tech to decide how to deploy stores, what the correct size of the store should be in that particular city or that location. The catalog is already there from day one. No one has to think about it. The pricing is already there. Um, we have smart inventory management system inbuilt, where there's automated forecasting, automated reordering, and there's no manual intervention in all of these processes. Uh, Checkout in our stores is less than 30 seconds. That's a benchmark we follow. So the UI of the POS system is so smooth and straightforward that the retail staff doesn't have to think. So we've made it in a way that's very fast for the customer. And in terms of the vendor management and supply chain management, everything is centralized. So there's no. So we've tried to remove human judgment as much as possible from the whole operation stack. And on top of that, we're omni-channel, so we have our own delivery app. We also partner with all third-party e-commerce platforms. There's click and collect built into the system. So everything is synced into a single database, a single source of truth, so that there's no uh, lag in terms of data, and inventory accuracy is maintained all throughout.
Manny, what is this? Let me just ask because I haven't had the pleasure of being in India yet. Someday I'll come visit. Is this normal? Is that having that fast customer transaction that's almost seamless? Payments, pickup, everything like is that normal? Is it new? Is it exciting? Is it something that you see on a regular basis in stores, or are you just like more groundbreaking that you're doing?
No, so this is just us. We've not seen people benchmarking checkouts less than 30 seconds. People don't even think about it, not just in India but internationally as well. That's
Yeah,
something
that's
we realize because we tend to be in places where there's a very high footfall and very young customers. So it's very important for us to facilitate them as soon as possible. So they don't like to wait. So we have to ensure that whatever we build fits into that benchmark. And I think that's very unique to us.
I imagine your young folks, just like ours here and here. Am I dating myself by calling them young folks? Your young folks have a phone in their hand every single place they go, and they rely on it completely for everything from payments to communications to ordering to.
Yes.
I'm assuming you have the same thing. In which point you are just facilitating that young development there too.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Just staying on technology for just a second more. Obviously, we're very interested to hear about how you're applying AI um, today and Gen AI. I think in better franchise management. There's something conversation that we had earlier. Tell us a bit about that, Manny, if you wouldn't mind.
So up till now, we had used AI to do demand forecasting, profit forecasting, and catalog forecasting based on city, state, and the exact pin code or the location. Now, what we're doing in 2026 is building our own MCP server. Is basically you create um, an a server from where an AI agent could derive information from, and it doesn't hallucinate because you're giving it a context that within this context you have to help serve the end customer. So we're building our own AI agent and MCP server basically um, to make operations even more better. So you could chat to the agent, you could ask him to do things like automated audits. So you could anything that's a red flag, it will tell the franchise partner that the sales are dipping. You have a outrageous amount of stock being ordered for this particular week. It could be something like your pricing strategy isn't working, your catalog is mismatched. It shouldn't be like this. Other stores around your city, around your state are doing this. So basically, trying to make it as easy as possible for them. And then loss prevention as well. So by automated auditing, I mean, for example, you're giving too much discount in certain products. So is there a pilferage happening? So that kind of actionable insights is what we're building on top of our existing system. So that's what we're doing. So you'll see the first AI store manager agent within our ecosystem this year. Um, and the idea is to again make it so easy that a franchise owner doesn't have to do anything. So now they don't even have to download reports as such. So the agent will do it for them.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? That as Asta, you are really getting to that point. You want to make life easy for these entrepreneurs who will be your franchisees, and obviously the tech stack I think is kind of the backbone for that, isn't it? In terms of how you can make that make it easy for them and also make them more effective. And just thinking about one of the other things in the article about India being known for its highly localized shopping habits. Is there a bit of a connection there between your capabilities from a tech point of view and using AI and so and your desire to please customers locally and offer something that's a bit personalized, bit tailored, perhaps?
So one thing that money didn't add out of his humility is the fact because we're franchising in a country like India, our tech is the cheapest, or I would say the most affordable tech that you can think of, and he's built it on Linux. And Money should elaborate more on that, but I'm the business mind, so I'll tell you. For a franchise owner, the cost of the tech is less than $1,000. And that includes pretty much everything, right? The setup to the usage. We charge them a monthly royalty for using the entire tech stack, but that's also just about 300 $400. It's actually pretty affordable, and which is where the scalability comes from. So one of the core challenges was not only to build a technology that makes scalability and efficiency extremely fast, but also make it affordable for our franchise owners, because India is a price sensitive country. So Money could elaborate more on how he achieved that. But to answer your question around local taste and preferences, of course, technology is a key denominator that allows us to make a lot of decisions based on the information that we have. But not to forget the fact that India is a very diverse consumer market, and the taste preferences and change pretty much after every 100 kilometers. So we had to build in that complexity into our business, and which is why there is a part of our business that empowers the local entrepreneurs, and allows them to participate with us along with our technology in the decision making process. Obviously, it's all tech enabled, and the permissions and everything happen through the tech, and it's pretty seamless for the franchise owner. But because a franchise owner is that local entrepreneur who has the local influence and understanding much better than our centralized systems, they are able to influence about 20% of purchase decisions with our approval process. It's all happening through our tech, in every order. So what happens is, as we gather more and more information about these local brands and hyper local preferences, our inventory forecasting is getting even more accurate. And every time now that we open another store in that location, down to the pin code, we're able to predict with almost full accuracy, um, what is a product that's likely to sell, what are the affinity analytics, what time of the day, and we're able to stock products in that fashion. So if our analytics tell us that a certain kind of SKU is only likely to be sold post midnight, we are able to plan not just inventory forecasting but also assortment planning within the store, and the right utilization of the shelf space, pretty much according to what the data tells us. So it's I would say a mix of using the local hyper local intelligence of the entrepreneur, and their influence and understanding along with the tech, and together that local entrepreneurship with centralized decision making and systems are able to pretty much solve for the heterogeneous nature of India.
Very, very interesting. And I guess, this is the beauty of the franchise model, isn't it? You've got these entrepreneurs who know their customers and know their local market, and then you want to make things easy. You want to give them some flex, don't you, in terms of what they're offering, but you don't want to give them too much flex, because what we know, globally, is that customers love to not be surprised, and have their expectations met every time they go into one of your stores. So it's a perfect mix, isn't it? Just another question. We'll have to move off technology, although it's a bit of a hobby of mine at the moment. But just another question on technology. Do you think, just stepping back and looking at what you're doing and the success you're having, do you think that you have big advantage in that you haven't got I guess, technology and setup to evolve. You can just jump straight to the finish line, shall we say, in terms of the right tech for this moment. Do you think that's giving you a big advantage?
I think technology is what makes us who we are. Uh, there's a reason we could scale so fast. Um, I think technology is the major backbone for that. I think if you see, ultimately everyone wants more sales, and there's no better way to do more sales than by introducing some kind of data science layer into it. And like Asta said, it's very easy for us now because we're already in 18 states. So if one of the states there's another store opening, it's very easy for us to exactly say what kind of product we should keep. And what it does for us is now the operational profitability starts coming within the 15-20 days, which used to take a couple of months when we started out. So in a way, it does feel like the stack we built is already helping us be at the finish line right after we started. And I think as we build more on this, I think there's no limit to it, what it can achieve. We're already surprised by the kind of benchmarks we've been able to hit because of this kind of software we built. And I do think it's giving us an unfair advantage uh, at a time where offline retail by itself is slowly not understanding where to go. It is giving us that unfair advantage in terms of how to build our stores and what kind of products to sell.
Well, I think as we wrap up, I think that you summarized it well. But I just wanted to ask either of you. You can say, so what's next? I mean, total India or world domination. Where are you going in the next? Oh, I want to say 10 years, but I think you're moving so fast. I guess I could say like 2 to 3 years even. What's your plan?
So, India itself right now is a huge market opportunity. Even at 300 stores, we're like a tiny drop in the ocean. There are close to 30 to 40 million traditional retail owners that exist today, and they're all facing the challenge and the hit of the new age businesses and the new India with technological advancements. And where they are, they're really facing existential crisis. So we have a huge opportunity, and even if we look at a market size of 150,000 convenience stores demand as of today, we're working towards at least on empowering 10,000 entrepreneurs by 2030. Having said that, we have global aspirations. You see, Indians own and command almost 80% of convenience stores and QSRs in markets like USA. I guess if those a lot of them in fact are early investors, and we've heard a lot of like rags to riches stories, and they're a very big source of inspiration for us. And one thing we know is that if they had that opportunity in India, migration would not have really been an option for them. They would have upgraded those businesses here rather than having to migrate to Canada or USA to run those convenience stores. So one of the things that we want to do is democratize retail entrepreneurship in India, make it affordable, accessible, and not consolidated in the hands of few people, and create more rags to riches stories from within India. But also, India has a very large diaspora outside of India. In fact, India has the largest diaspora from a particular community in the world. And we do think that the next big brand in retail or QSR could be coming out of India. And we want to be that brand that is the most loved franchise globally, offering very hyper local, Indianized products and services, and catering to the demands and needs of the modern world. Why can't it be New Shop? We have global aspirations. We want to build it the most loved franchise brand in the world. But let's start with India.
Well, Dan, I'm happy to say, hey, we knew you way back when. So this could be like one of the first things. We'll look back at this in a couple years or even 10 more years down the road and be like, hey, remember when we talked to them? You're taking over the world. So that's been a really cool story. We really appreciate you sharing that with us. And Dan, I know we have the article up on Global Convenience, which again, I'll put in the notes here so you can read a little bit more and see a little bit more. But I look really forward to hearing your story as it evolves and continues to grow. And what a job you guys are doing. So what a big lift, right, Dan?
Yeah, fascinating. And look, I think we're only just starting to scrape the surface, really, of understanding the business, your business, but also the Indian market opportunity, which I think is a fascinating one, as well as the global one, which I think you very eloquently described for your business. So look forward to talking to you again soon, I hope.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. Well, I look forward to seeing you at some of the industry conferences. You're right up there with the big players. So Aastha, Manny, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. And listeners, thank you so much for listening to The Future of Convenience. Thank you for listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, produced by Dan Munford, Jenna Ferguson, and Lorraine Evans. It is produced and edited and mixed by Carolyn Schnare, and music is provided by Jukebox Music. Learn more at globalconvenience.com.